This is an overview of the Illinois Shines project application timeline, including both Part 1 and Part 2 application submissions. The first step in the process is to complete and submit a disclosure form, then issue the customer contract, followed by submitting the Part 1 application. After that, you will submit a batch of projects, execute the REC contract, and then install and energize the project. Then you will register the system for GATS or MRETs, submit your Part 2 application, and complete any ongoing requirements. First is the disclosure form and program brochure. The disclosure form includes important information to the customer on their solar contract and must be completed and provided to them for signature prior to contract execution. We have several different disclosure forms in the Illinois Shines program, including 3 DG forms and 1 for community solar. Each form contains contact information, information on pricing, and any kind of information related to the solar project. Once the disclosure form is provided to the customer will review and sign the customer contract. All customer contracts must include the minimum applicable requirements, and these can be found on the Illinois Shines Consumer Protections page of the website. And although we won't require the contract from you, we can request this at any time. For community solar projects, disclosure forms and contracts do not need to be signed prior to Part 1 application submission, but they will need to be checked at the Part 2 application verification. Next is the Part 1 application, which is submitted on the Illinois Shines portal and includes information such as the system design, size, site control requirements, and expected REC payment calculations. Submitting your Part 1 application doesn't trigger a review of the application. You will also need to batch and pay for the project to initiate the Part 1 application review by the program administrator. The batch submission process is highlighted here. Within the portal, you'll be able to select from a list of completed project applications to create and then submit the batch. For approved vendors submitting for the first time, the batch must be at least 100 kilowatts. During batching, a non-refundable application fee will be paid to the program administrator. The application fee is $20 per kilowatt, not to exceed $15,000 per project. You can make payment for the application fee via credit card, wire transfer, or check. Once your batch has been paid and verified, it will be submitted to the ICC for review. Now we'll review the batch review process and timing of ICC submissions. After the batch is submitted, it goes before the ICC for approval at the ICC open meeting. The batch is submitted to the ICC by the program administrator at least 8 days prior to the ICC meeting, and they do meet every 2 weeks. Once the batch has been approved by the ICC, the utility will send the approved vendor a REC contract. The purchase of renewable energy credits, also known as RECs, are how renewable energy production is incentivized in the Illinois Shines program. We have 15-year REC delivery contracts for DG projects and CDCS projects, and 20-year REC delivery contracts for TCS projects. EEC projects will receive the contract length of the corresponding category. And within 30 days of the ICC approval of the contract, the collateral must be paid by the approved vendor. Once the REC contract is executed, DG projects will be given up to 18 months from the trade date to be developed and energized. Community solar projects will be given 24 months from the trade date to be developed, energized, and also demonstrate they have sufficient subscribers. Certain extensions can be granted for this, and more details around those can be found in the REC contract. Once a project is energized, approved vendors need to register the system within either GATS or MRETs and create an irrevocable standing order. These are the 2 tracking registry systems used to track REC creation, transfer, and retirement. Every approved vendor is required to have an account with at least one of these registries and will need to enter the generation into the system as frequently as monthly and at least once annually. Next is the Part 2 application. This is completed to confirm the project's final specifications after the project is ICC approved and it has been built and energized. For community solar, this consists of submitting disclosure forms as well as demonstrating subscriber levels. Following Part 2 verification, the first REC invoice will be generated by the program administrator. We generate these on a quarterly basis according to the invoicing cycle in the REC contract. The approved vendor will review the invoice that is generated and then submit it to the utility for payment. For systems larger than 5 kilowatts, the first REC must be delivered within 90 days of when the system is Part 2 verified. Systems less than or equal to 5 kilowatts must deliver the first REC within 180 days of when the system is Part 2 verified. And lastly, let's move on to ongoing requirements. After REC invoicing and payment, the approved vendor must continue reporting RECs in GATS or MRECs and submit an annual report for all contracts in their portfolio on an annual basis. After 3 full delivery years, the approved vendor will undergo a REC performance evaluation to confirm the system is delivering RECs as expected.